Property Patriot, you are cleared hot.
Welcome to the AMI Podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans. Today, we're thrilled to have David Richter. David is a seasoned real estate expert. David's journey in real estate began in 2012, and since then, he's been part of over 900 deals. In this episode, David shares his insights on the importance of financial management in real estate. Here are my 3 takeaways. First, the critical role of understanding and managing your finances in real estate success. Second, the necessity of keeping more of your earnings. And last, the diverse experience David brings from marketing to property management. Join us as we dive into these valuable lessons with David Richter, author of Profit First for Real Estate Investing. Hear about the book and more, where we provide real estate investors with the tools to achieve generational wealth. This is the AMI Podcast, episode number 60. Good day, high flyer, and welcome to the AMI Podcast. I am your host, Bud Evans, and today I am joined by an impressive individual. This guy is not only an author, but he's also someone that I got to hang out with for an entire day down in Lakeland, Florida recently with our friend Tarek Almusa. David Richter. How are you, David?
Bud, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
It is an absolute pleasure, man. I will tell you flat out, one of the reasons that I really was looking forward to getting you on here is, simply put, I'm a fan. I read your book. I listened to it on audio first, and then having you in my ear telling me about some military guy who came to you and you gave him the news about his business and he hung up on you. And that it resonated greatly with me because my books were so bad, and now I'm actually a client of yours. Do me a favor, for anyone who doesn't know you, can you just give me a quick introduction?
Yeah. So I've actually been in the real estate world since 2012. Bought my first house on 12/12/12. And since then, it's been a whirlwind. I was at a real estate company for 5 years. We did over 850 deals or 800 deals while I was there. Then moved across the country, started working with another investor, did about 50 deals with him there. And honestly, what helped me get to where I am now today is that I saw in both businesses, like, that everyone has trouble with the numbers, with keeping the money, paying themselves what they want to. We were doing 25 deals a month in that first company at our highest point, doing 300 deals a year, but spending 26 were. So who cares? Who cares that we're doing all these deals, all this activity, and not making any money? So that's where got into more of the, I want to help people keep more of what they're making and know where to put their dollars in their business. And because that's just sorely lacking. So I've got a lot of experience. It was a lot of single family deals, lots of different exit strategies. I've sat in lots of different seats: marketing, sales, transaction coordination, finance, like project management, property management. So I've got a little taste of it all and love the real estate world, but just want to help people make sure they're keeping more of what they actually bring home. So that's what I'm doing more of today. But yeah, my real estate journey has been a whirlwind for the last 10 years.
Awesome. Now, I got to give a kick out here to Mike Michalowicz, because I read his Profit First accounting book and fell in love with it, hired an organization that was working with Profit First accounting, but I was failing miserably. So that's what brought me to you. When exactly did you read that book, and how exactly did you come along with the decision to start your own thing?
Yeah. So I was working with that second investor. I had moved across the country, had my own portfolio, sold that, and just had financial freedom, started working with another investor. And one of the first things I said was, like, I need your numbers. I need to know if you're a rock solid business or not. Because by that point, even with no formal background or training or education in the accounting space, I was dangerous enough to read the P&L, the balance sheet, the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement. So then I looked at his books and they were a mess, just like everyone. It seems like when we first either start working with them or just see their books, it was just not in the right place. Wasn't able to give them direction. I'm like, okay, we got to get this straightened out so we at least have numbers so we can move forward from there. So that's what even got me thinking, okay, this is probably happening in a lot of other places. Like, it happened before where I was, it's happening with him. Got the wheels turning. And then I helped him turn that around in just a couple months. And then he knew what he was making, spending, and keeping. And he came to me and said, this has been life-changing. Just knowing the numbers, like having clarity, even if it's a bad situation or good situation, he was like, it doesn't matter. Now I can take action based on the numbers. And I'm like, okay, boom. My mind was blown. Okay, I can help people with this. I can help people with this concept of getting clarity in their business. That's when I started Simple CFO, or when the idea of it was born. But then I had a mentor that I called and said, what do you think of this business idea? Do you think that there's actually a market for it? And he's, oh yeah. because he was a business coach in the real estate investing space. And he's like, oh, yeah, everyone's struggling with this. You should do it. But you should also read Profit First. So that's where I got introduced to it myself and read the book that night, took 10 pages of notes, said, boom, this is it. This is how I know, like, everyone struggles with the cash and the cash management and cash flow in their business. And this is a great system for the entrepreneur. So that's when I read that book. And then my life was changed then too. Like, we implemented it in Simple CFO, started implementing it in all the real estate investing businesses we were working with, saw people actually turn around from going out of business. And Bud even heard that story of one of the guys' early success stories that even had me. That was one of the reasons I wrote Profit First for real estate investing. So that was from there. About 10 months into it, I went to Mike McCallitz and said, I've got a heavy real estate background. I've now implemented Profit First multiple times with different real estate companies. Could I write Profit First for real estate investing? And that's how I got that deal done, just reaching out to him and with my experience and background. And now the book is out there, Profit First for real estate investors. So there's the journey of my company and Profit First.
Yeah, man. And I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of Ready, Fire, Aim. And you
Yeah.
did. You notice it's not on the shelf, right? It's
Right.
not. I'm actually
Right next
going
to
through
you.
this right now with a couple of our employees who are like working with me to implement this across the 8 different companies. But man, I got to give you credit because you jumped out of the plane and then built the parachute on the way down. How did
Oh,
that
yeah.
transpire? How did you get in touch with Mike McCallitz, by the way?
Played it strategically. When I first started doing this, he has a group called Profit First Professionals where you get certified. You basically become part of that circle. And it's not like you get access to him anytime, any place, anywhere there. But I knew he had done a book deal with other people, and only 2 or 3 people at that point where they had written a book for their industry. And I'm like, I think I could do that. After one of the people that was on my team was like, you should reach out to him and see if you would do this. And I was like, contemplate. I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I just emailed him out of the blue because I had his email from being a part of that group. And then that's how from there he emailed back, let's jump on a call. I'll never forget it because that call happened on my birthday, I think in 2020. Yeah, in the COVID year. So yeah, I'll never forget that. And then so from there, had that call with him and did that deal. But that's how I got in touch with him because I was part of his circle and was like, oh, I think this would be good. Another thing too was I believed in it so much. I believed I needed to get it out in a different media form than just my company. Like, I can't work with everyone. We've worked with now hundreds and hundreds of companies to do this. But I'm still like, okay, I need to reach everyone. The person who's done one deal or the person who's done thousands of deals. This is a great framework for telling every dollar where to go in your business. So that's why the other driving force was I just need to get this message out. And people had tried to apply it to real estate before, and I had heard that, and I don't understand it. So I'm a bottom shelf type of guy. So I just need to put it on the bottom shelf. Here's how you do it in a real estate business. And that's what like drove me to do it. But yeah, that's how I got in touch with Mike. I was a part of his circle, his group, and then got some experience under my belt, had some ammo to go to him to say, I think I'd be able to do this pretty well. So what do you think?
Awesome. So let's go back to when you were not David Richter, author of Property Accounting for Real Estate Investors. Let's talk about little David Richter getting into real estate, and you are buying your first property, scared to death.
Yeah.
There's no tomorrow. What did it look like then?
So I bought that first house on 12/12/12. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in college. That was even unlocked my mindset. And I'm like, of course, got to go down the real estate path. I read a bunch of books, but I'm like, I need to take action too. So I got in touch with a realtor, and this is 2012. Okay.
Yeah.
So like deals were
The
still
world
on the
had just
MLS.
finished
They're-
being on
yeah.
fire.
Exactly. And there was the foreclosures all over the place. You could throw a rock at the HUD home store and find a deal. It's like they were all over the place. So that's where I got a realtor though at that time because I wasn't a part of that company yet, nothing, the real estate investing company. So I didn't have all the knowledge I had a few years later after seeing hundreds of deals done. So that first one I asked for help from a realtor in my network that I trusted, and she helped in other investors too. So I just said, can we get a house in this area in this price range? And she brought a deal. It was only $50K purchase price. It was 5 minutes from where I was living at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this deal down. And I even remember I got an FHA 203K loan, which for a first time home buyer was like, I could get the purchase price plus repairs from the bank.
Yeah.
So it was great. I did that loan, lined up the contractor, got it all done. I think that was my first deal was the most money I'd ever brought out of pocket too for any house that I did after that, just because I got smarter and I wanted to keep cash more than have the best purchase price. So it was more about what my tolerance level was. But for that first deal, it was in my backyard. It took about 3 months to finish. It like they even had a repair escrow. I and went over budget, but they held enough back in the 203K loan to be able to cover it. So it's yes, thank God. Like on this first deal, it didn't go over too much and we had the money to cover it. Then from there, I did lots of things with that first property. I rented it out first to some family and friends, which you're never supposed to do, right? But
Right.
I put an agreement in place and it was only 3 or 4 months, but I cash flowed and they paid on time, but I still had an agreement in place. Then from there, I lived in it with my wife because this was when I was like early 20s, like 2021 when I first bought it. So we lived there for 2 years in that house. So then after 2 years, she found another deal because she was working with the same company I was at that point in the real estate investing world. And she found a different deal in the like close to where we were living. She's like, why don't we rent out this house and go to a different house? So that was awesome. So then we did another rental, but we did a lease option with that first property. So lease with an option to buy. So that way that tenant could purchase the property. And so we did that. That only lasted 6 months with that tenant because he actually cashed me out. He was like super tenant. He cashed me out 6 months later. And because I had lived there 2 out of 5 years, I walked away with a check that was tax free, not tax deductible, but tax free because the US tax law says if you live in a place 2 out of 5 years, there's no capital gains up to a certain amount. If you're
Right.
married, it was like $500,000. So we were able to pocket that money tax free. It was a home run deal on that first one that I kept for multiple years after buying other ones as well too. But that's how I got into it. Then I like while I still had that house is when I got introduced and went to my network for real estate investing, like working with an actual company. I wanted to earn and learn at the same time. So, like, here, do you need help? How can I help? Here's what I'm good at. Let me help you at the company. And then from there, earning and learning about real estate while I was there. But first 9 months, I worked like night and weekends for free while I was doing my factory job and stuff. So,
Right.
put a lot of sweat equity into it beforehand. So, that was my early journey, just trying to learn as much as possible and take the risk, but calculated risk. And then as I grew in my knowledge, I did not know what a lease option was when I first bought that first property, but I did after a few years into it and being and learning a lot and being like, okay, that's the way I want to do it when we move out of it. So it's like that I just kept stacking the real estate knowledge while I was also helping that company with grow in the deal size that they were doing too.
That's awesome. Listen, everybody's got the trouble that they go through with their first few deals. Now, I'm making an assumption here, but I'm guessing the books and the accounting portion of it wasn't really the hard part for you. What was the hardest thing that you had to go through when you were just starting out?
That was my first deal. The next few deals weren't as fun. It was like rentals in not great areas and tenants that I was knocking on the doors and trying to get the money from. So that was the not fun part. That's when I learned that I'll pay a little bit more if there's less headaches in my life
Yeah.
versus so that was one thing I learned very early on. For that first deal, it was just taking the plunge even before I had more real estate knowledge of actually purchasing that deal. And is this going to work out? What if we do go over budget? Do I have enough money? It was just all the fear, just the fear to break through and that mindset and actually getting that deal done. I remember thinking, wow, this is a lot of paperwork. The first deal when I'm getting all this loan into the 203K loan. So it's like the purchase plus the repairs. And then there was a lot of hoops to jump through. So I'm like, this is why it's a path to wealth because there's, even though it might be a low barrier to entry in real estate, it's like to stay in it, you got to tackle lots of different obstacles. Whether you open up a wall and there's something there that you're like, oh, shoot, like it's going to set us back, or just all the different hurdles that you go through. So I think that was a lot of it was just getting the actual deal done, stop reading about it and buying a deal, going through the process, getting the education. It was stopping the analysis and just actually jumping into those. Those were a couple of the big things up front.
Yeah, man, taking massive action is the first way to get started, right? Jumping
Oh
out of
yeah.
that airplane without a parachute. I already said that, but I got to ask you, there's always the one deal that is the absolute nightmare.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got one personally, and then I have one with the company I was with. So the one personally was the one I was talking about, where the guy wasn't paying on time, wasn't taking care of the house. I had to go over there multiple times and knock on the door, and he'd pay a little bit. It was just like a nightmare for me because it was taking so much of my time, and then trying to sell the thing on the back end, not fun. So and that was every month. So that just I got a great education on it. Really, a bad tenant is is most of the time worse than or better, no, worse than no tenant. A bad tenant worse than no tenant. So that was one. The worst deal I was ever a part of though was with this company that I was with, and we bought one in Chicago, and because we were in the Northwest Indiana area, so we were buying in Crook County, Illinois, and we had a deal there that was a nightmare because we had contractors that stole money, sending us pictures and updates that weren't of the house. And that happened a couple times on this specific deal, which was just insane. Then from there, we finally got people we trusted. They were actually doing the work. And then the basement kept flooding every single time it rained. And it was like, okay, this is a complete nightmare. We had that property for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, like the whole time it was there almost. And then finally sold it for a $200,000 loss. So it was a nightmare along the way, and then the result was not very pretty. So
Right?
that's where I feel like while I was at this company, it wasn't just all about the real estate. It was learning what to do as a business owner and what not to do. There's great things to do, and there was just so many lessons learned. And that's where, too, even a deal like that, it also helped that we were doing a lot of deals, and that wasn't our only deal. If that was our only deal and like doing one deal at a time, we would have gone down with that one deal. So it was very eye-opening, but then it was also eye-opening of, okay, if we didn't have all this, this would be very bad. Like, we've gotta change something. So, it should you always learn from your mistakes, and I got a huge education in that part of the business.
Right. That's all right. So you that is a key. That is an incredible story. It's, and the reason I say that is because there's always that one. I call it Voldemort. There's always the one that shall not be named. Right.
Yeah.
We always do those. We always do those great projects where it's like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. Oh man, I can't believe I did that. Oh man, I can't believe how much rent I'm getting out of this deal. And then
Yeah.
there's always the one that you just go, why am I in real estate right now?
Yes. Yes, and that one, there was others too, but those are the 2 that stand out for me personally.
Now, I've already stated that I am now a client of Simple CFO. So
Yeah.
now you're an author, you're a CEO, you are a real estate investor. What's next?
Oh, next, I like to focus on one thing. That's one thing I learned from that company. We were doing too many exit strategies. We had grown to 25 deals a month, but we were doing wholesale, retail, turnkey, subject to buying rentals, lease options. Like we had 7 to 10 different exit strategies, but it was almost like we were building another business, but not adding the resources or adding too many. And it like got top heavy. And then that's what brought that company down. So I said, when I start Simple CFO, I have sold all of my real estate. I am focused 100% on this. I'm focused on building the culture, on building the right team, bringing the right clients on. So for me, this is the long-term game of what I'm doing because I also believe in this mission of what we're doing. Like you even said for yourself, messy books. And I'm like, I see that all over again, but it is not original to that. And that is where a lot of people, though, we don't talk about the money. A lot of people are embarrassed about it. They're ashamed. They're scared. They're lots of different things. Like I talk about in that book with the military guy in the book, Dan, or with Joey, or like just a lot of just people have these fears. And a lot of people think they're alone too, because we don't talk about that side of the business. When you go to a mastermind event, everyone talks about like when we went, it was all about the 25 deals a month we were doing, not the 26 per month that we were losing out on. But that's where a lot of people don't talk about that. And that's why I believe I'm on this mission. Like, I want to help. I want to help our industry. I want to help just business owners who make money but feel broke and don't know what to do because they have no clarity. Where do I put this money? I don't have any numbers. So for me, it's being the CEO of this company for many more years, focusing, buckling down, and really helping and making even a bigger dent in what we're doing. Because it is snowballed. And I'm just like, I want to really focus, which is funny because we've said massive action is what you take at the beginning. I've had now leadership coaches as we've grown and stuff, and it's not all about massive action on my part anymore. It's about massive thinking time, and it's about helping the leaders on the team and becoming a leader of other leaders at this point. So that way, the people that we have and the team that we have can take the action to help people. Because, like for us, it's about making sure we're just removing barriers and roadblocks. So it's new levels, new devils. So that's where, like right now, I'm very focused on what we're doing. I want to provide great service. I want to have a great culture. I want to have a great team. I want to have great people we work with as clients. Like that's what I'm really focused on. So I don't see that stopping. I'm still relatively young too. So I've probably got a decade or two more where even if I was retired, this is still a mission where I love talking about it. I love presenting on it. I am very passionate about it. Like I don't want people, if you are going to go out there and bust your butt to make money or get deals done or just do sales, like anything like that, you better dang keep it or have a system for keeping it. So that way you're not just spinning your wheels. Because I've been doing this long enough now where I've personally talked to people in the business for decades and they're like, I wish you were around 1 or 2 decades ago. And I'm like, that lights a fire under me to be like, okay, I really need to buckle down. I really need to get this message out. More people need to hear it. I need to give people at least a sliver of hope, like that you don't have to stay stuck in that rat race, that wheel that you're just going on, even as an entrepreneur. You trade W-2 paycheck to paycheck living for deal to deal living in the real estate space. So I don't want you to stay stuck there. So when you ask that question, I usually tell that answer. I'm very focused. I want to stay here for a long time. I want to help just because I know how many people struggle with this and entrepreneurs that need this type of help too.
Great. I got to tell you something. I was a veteran, very long time. I did about 6.5 years of contingency orders, like combat support.
Yeah.
I got to say, the first, and I've been rocketed, I've been mortared, I've been shot at. The scariest thing that I ever did was buy my first rental property or my first flip.
Yeah.
The thing that scared me even more was when I had to account for my own books. Right. How much am I going to mess up so the federal government's going to catch me?
Yeah.
So Dave, I really appreciate it. And Simple CFO, it's really, I am really looking forward to working with you guys for an extended period of time. So thank you. I got to ask though, is there one takeaway as your wealth increased? Is there one takeaway that you can share? Something that as your wealth increased, you realized?
It's hard to pick just one. I would say what I was talking about there, focus. Focus is so key. We get as entrepreneurs, we're so squirrely, right? Like squirrel, let's just boom. There's the new thing. Or I created a new business yesterday. It's like, great for you. Is your other business suffering though? Like the main thing that's bringing you the food that to put on your dinner table. So that's where I think that's been huge. Another one is as we've grown, there is just new mindsets to break through. If you hit your first 6 figures as a business owner, that's a new level for you. It's different. Even if you were making 6 figures in corporate before or in another job, it's different once you make it as an entrepreneur. Then if you go from 6 to 7 figures, totally new mindset, totally different team, like just the whole thing changes. So you have to constantly learn. And it really is. It is really contingent on how much you want to learn and how much you grow for your business to really grow. And that's where I've seen that a lot of the people that make it go far have the systems for the back end. And I know that sounds so self-serving or biased for what I teach, but it goes hand in hand. If you have a system for making the money, they have a system for keeping it. That's where so many people come to us like, you're going to experience this, bud. They say, I feel like a business owner now. I feel like I know my numbers. I'm not scared of it anymore. And I have the confidence to make the right decision. So that's where that focus is very key. Focusing on when you're small, the revenue producing activities. You don't need a new website. You don't need new business cards. You need to go out there and get the deals in the door, the money to happen. That's where that massive action, especially like you said, Bud, like when you first get started, it is all about that massive action. Then as you grow, there's other things that you add to your tool belt and there's things you take away as well. That's why if you're a leader of a bigger company, you start to get to 7 figures and you're the one taking massive action all the time, you're probably stepping on other people's rugs or stepping on their toes when you should be empowering them to be a leader in that position. And it's, oh, shoot. So I know you wanted one takeaway. I'll say focus is the takeaway, but there's so many other things that I've learned along the way where I'm like, man, it's just that consistent growth, always looking for the people. Here's another one too. Get around the people where you are or a few steps ahead of you. So if you go to 6 figures, be around those 6-figure entrepreneurs, but you probably want a couple of 7 figures as well too. Of how did you get there? Where are you? Because right now in my life at 7 figures, I have 8-figure coaches. So I'm not even going to the 100 million. I don't need to go from 7 figures to 9 figures. I want to go from 7 to 8, and I want it to be consistent growth. I want it to be quality growth. I want it to be where our company doesn't break down and we lose quality and we don't have the right culture. So there's so many things.
Yeah.
Don't let it scare you. Take it one bite at a time. People overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what you can accomplish in 5. So that's where, as an entrepreneur, you just have to keep consistent growth, keep consistent mindset. And I do. I wish that I would have known back in those real estate days that I could have said, hey, we got to stop all these exit strategies. We really got to buckle down. We got to focus on just the ones that are profitable for us. Cut anything else, even if it's making us a little money. No, we got to just focus on the things we're really good at.
Yeah.
That company probably would have taken a different direction, but I probably wouldn't be here today. So I'm also blessed for what I went through. But it's like, those are one of the things I wish I could have told myself back then.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you this. So yesterday I was on with Render and Michael and I talking to them.
Yeah.
And I had the best night's sleep.
Nice. I love
Just
that.
going through the process. It just,
Yeah.
it takes so much off your shoulders, man. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
moving on, let's go into the Soaring Forward. These are the same 4 questions that I ask every guest that can achieve someone who is just starting out, achieve new heights. Okay.
Here
we go. What is one thing that you use that keeps you motivated?
Oh, one thing I use?
Yeah.
Well, I have, for me, I started Simple CFO to give 1 million to charity within the first 10 years. We track that. And that is honestly why I keep growing. If I didn't have that, I probably would just sit very comfortably now at home. Like that's where this motivates me, because now I want to keep growing because two big reasons. I want to give, and the mission. Like we are truly helping people, like what you just said, Bud. We hear lots of times over and over again, just having someone help them. So that would be one big thing, is the motivation of why I started it and what keeps me going.
Great, man. What is one thing that you learned and that completely changed your mindset?
No. As we grew, that massive action is not what I should always be taking.
Yeah.
That massive action is great up front. So do not go out there, and David said, to be lazy. You have to trade the massive action for thinking time. Read the book, The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And it is harder to just sit and think for an hour than it is to be busy for an hour doing something. So that's one thing that as you grow, you'll need to start building into your schedule.
That is absolutely true, man. I love that part.
Yeah.
What is one thing you use to keep you on track?
Ooh, we use, in our business, we used EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, the book Traction.
Yeah.
So we have our daily, weekly, quarterly goals. And then our overall yearly goals are broken down in those daily, weekly, quarterly. So we know if we're on track or off track. It's just a great framework, business-wise, to keep us on track. And then in my personal life, I've got my routines, going to the gym, reading the Bible, praying, like doing the things like for me that fill me up. And then I build into my calendar, first off, spending time with family. As my daughter was young, like before she got into school, certain amount of playtime in the morning and then at night. And then when she got to school, it's okay. The afternoon's going to be our playtime then. So keeping those first things first, not just on the money side, but then in the life too. So using the same type of systems for the personal life.
And the last thing is, if you had to start all over, what would you change?
Oh man, profit first, like starting all over. If I'd push for that in the business, because that would have just exposed a lot of things back then. if I had to start all over, like I said, we'd be raking in the money at that point because we would know what to shut off, what to focus on, keeping the money. The ownership would be happy, the leadership team back then. And then also, if I had to start my company all over again, because I had Profit First right from the beginning, I would, at that point, oh man, there's so many things. I would probably just tell myself, you're going to, as an entrepreneur, have these ups and down days. Just don't worry. Like nothing is the end of the world. Keep going, keep pushing forward. You're going to help a lot of people. Just continue to believe in yourself and make sure that you bring other people along that really want to help you from the beginning. Because even up front, I didn't know I was building a fractional CFO company. Like I didn't know what I was at the very beginning. And then it just became more apparent in the first few months and then year of, okay, this is really catching on. So just giving myself that shot in the arm.
I love the one excerpt from your book where it's Pace Morby. If I'd have known Profit First,
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
that made my jaw hit the floor when he said I would have 5 million more in my bank account right now. And that was a few years ago. We still work with him. We still work with him today. Yeah. It's not, he loves Profit First. It's just, you really need to know where every dollar's going. It just helps a whole lot. Like you said, to sleep well at night. And even if it's bad, at least you know how bad it is and where you need to make the changes. It's not like we've had peaches and roses this whole time because Profit First is this magic formula to always never have any issues. It's like, no, you now know what to do when the issues come up and can ask yourself better questions now.
I've always told my wife it's easier for me to go out and earn $10,000 than it is for me to find $10,000 in the money I'm already making.
Yeah.
The problem is that I don't know where that money's going.
Exactly. And that is why I know most people lose sleep at night. It's not because they're losing money. They don't know how much they are or if they're making money, like on some slim chance if that's the setup. So I totally get it.
Awesome. David, thank you very much. The book is Profit First for Real Estate Investors. Listen, man, I can't tell you how groundbreaking that book is, in addition to the Mike Michalowicz Profit First book. If somebody wanted to reach out, how would they do that?
I'll give you a cheat sheet for Profit First, which includes at least the ebook. So you might like the physical version, audio version. You could go purchase that on Amazon or Audible. But if you go to simplecfo.com/gift, you can get the cheat sheet. So the cheat sheet for Profit First, if you're like, what the heck is Profit First and what you've been talking about? That gives you the 1, 2, 3 overview. And then it gives you my book too, as well, to follow along. So I want to give you hope as an entrepreneur. You're not getting a lot of this education on keeping the money side, maybe from tax perspective or bookkeeping, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about cash in your account. Where should it go? Go to simplecfo.com/gift. You can get that, download it, and then start implementing.
Awesome, man. And hey, listen, it was great hanging out with you on a Sunday a couple of weeks ago. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy and absolutely crushing it, but jumping on the podcast, I really do appreciate it.
Bud, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm passionate about getting this message out. I want to help more people realize that they can keep more of what they're making.
Thanks for being a part of the Aim High community. Your support drives us to create valuable content, and we can't wait to see your success stories in real estate investing. Till next time, aim high, never stop learning. Bud Evans, signing off. We'll see you soon.